Party people, it is Friday. Welcome to this edition of the Angela Ray Show. It's been a long week, at least it has been for me. I don't know about you, but it has definitely been a long week, but we are here. It is time for us to celebrate because it is the weekend. For those of you who are catching this broadcast on the replay, thank you so much for your support and hanging out with the Angela Ray Show. I know, especially for my fans and followers on the West Coast, it is still a little early, and many of you are no longer sheltering in place. You are back working and doing what you do outside of the home. So it is only 5 p.m. But thank you again for checking out the show on the replay. For those of you who will be catching this broadcast live, I definitely appreciate your support. Do what you do. You know what we do here. Go ahead and slide into those comments. Let me know what your plans are for this weekend. Let me know what you plan to do this weekend. I am going to reorganize my office. That's one thing that I am planning to do. And I also plan to get in a little bit of all natural vitamin D. Gotta get out and do something, whether it's taking in a little bit of the park or some water or something. So I am definitely planning to get some all natural vitamin D. Right now, this is day number 5, actually day 10. This is day number 5 in the week. But for the past 2 weeks, we have been embarking on this series, Leading My Best Life. This is in conjunction with the relaunch of my leadership book for high school and college students, Megastar Student Leadership, Lessons I Learned as an Actress that can help you lead, achieve, and succeed. You can just click the link in the bio so that you can get your very own autographed copy. But we are definitely going to be taking that book to Amazon. Again, if you're going to be watching the broadcast live on this evening, go ahead and slide in the comments. Let me know what you are planning to do for this weekend. As always, we get the party started with our Ray of Motivation moment. And for tonight's Ray of Motivation moment, I just want to share with you this quote: worry is a misuse of imagination. And that is not mine, that is Dan Zadra's. Worry is a misuse of imagination. You know, I have often heard that faith and fear require one thing in common, and that is the belief. You can believe in something that you want to happen, that you are believing for, that you are working to manifest in your life, or you can fear something, believing that it will also happen much in the same way as you put your faith in something happening. So, so oftentimes particularly in this time that we are living in right now, where we are still in the midst of a worldwide pandemic, where the economic status of so many people around the world have been impacted. There are so many things that look differently than they did in February of 2020. And even though things may look differently, I think it all centers on your outlook, what you are worried about, what you have faith in, or what you have fear in. So you can use your imagination to create the great, or you can use your imagination to attract those things into your life that you don't actually want to materialize. And that is tonight's Ray of Motivation moment for this Friday edition of the Angela Ray Show. Well, as I said, we are wrapping up Leading My Best Life, and I am excited to have my next guest on the show. Natt Taylor has been a featured designer during New York's Fashion Week, showing Harlem's Fashion Row, as well as being featured on BET on Fashion, hosted by BET Networks. Her collections and her personal stories have appeared in numerous magazines, television, and online outlets. In 2014, she was honored for her contributions to the fashion and style community of Atlanta as she graciously accepted the Lux List Style Award presented by Urban Lux Magazine. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Natt Taylor. Natt, thanks so much for being on the Angela Ray Show
Hi,
tonight.
how are you? Thank you for having me.
I am doing well. I am doing well. We were talking a little bit before we went live, but I'm just curious, what has occupied your time during this pandemic?
What has occupied my time? In the beginning of the pandemic, I slowed down a bit production wise, and then the pivot happened when everybody needed masks and didn't have access to them. So we shifted gears and started providing masks for the world. Starting with Atlanta, of course. We actually pulled together, well, I pulled together a couple of local designers, and we were able to provide masks to a couple of nurses in the area, to hospitals, to essential workers, just based on sales made through our websites. Um,
Hmm.
that kept me busy for a really long time. And then as things are picking back up, I'm now receiving more orders, and we're shifting back into some normalcy.
Now, how did you get your start in designing?
I got my start in design. Let's see, it's been so long. Gosh.
That
Oh,
can't be
okay.
that long because you look young. You look like you're 25, so it can't be that long ago.
Wait, I had to think about it because I've stopped and started so many times. Like the very first time I jumped into design, I was in corporate, and I won't say I hated everything about corporate, but I wasn't comfortable and I was really bored. I mean, as a creative, a natural creative, being in corporate is can be a bit redundant. So
Hmm.
my outlet was to design and create clothes for myself to wear to work. And if you know anything about corporate America, you have maybe four colors that you can wear that are approved. That's brown, navy, gray, and black. So because I couldn't wear like bright colors and that sort of thing, I took the linings out of my jackets and made those bright colors. So that was my way of rebelling, and eventually just started sewing, making dresses and skirts, and people in the office started to notice and placed orders. And next thing I knew, I was running my business from my cubicle, having lunchtime meetings and fittings in the afternoon, and it just kind of grew from there.
And so, did you already have the skill set to sew, or was it just something that you kind of discovered while rebelling in corporate?
Um, A little bit of both. I started sewing in high school, but I I realized that I already had the gift once I started learning. Like I just picked up on it really easy. My grandmothers sewed, my aunts have sewed, my mom. They didn't, do a whole lot with it, but my grandmother, she would make quilts all the time. She made all of our pajamas and everything. My only regret with that is not sitting watching her do it, because then I would have realized the gift before 22 or 21, however old I was.
And so, in addition to you designing for people that you knew, your business has definitely exploded, and you now have some of your designs in stores across the country. Talk about that expansion.
What was the last word?
Expansion, how you expanded from just, from doing shows to actually having your designs in stores across the country.
Well, being in stores, every designer has like a different goal. My goal was always to get in the department stores, be on the red carpets, show at New York Fashion Week and that whole thing. But somewhere along the line, I kind of lost that drive. So I was comfortable with just selling directly to my customers, doing pop up shops, and kind of getting to know them on that level. And then all of a sudden, I think Belk was the first store that we entered. Well, actually, before that, boutiques. So the pop ups led to us selling in boutiques, which was still like a direct connect with our customer, which helped us to grow, our own direct sales client base or whatever. Um, Belk decided to do a design competition, and just at random, I entered and I was one of five winners selected, and that landed us in a couple of their stores across the country. And well, they're only in the Southeast, but either way, nine stores we were in, and it was an experience very different from boutiques. You don't have that direct connection with the customer. It's wholesale. Um, it's just a whole different level and a whole lot of back end stuff that we didn't have to do or deal with, dealing directly with the manager or with the customer. So then after that was Macy's, same situation, department store, whole different level, meeting those deadlines. Like everything is just so much more structured.
And so, obviously when your designs are in a store, outside of just your home state, you're reaching more people.
Mhm.
But would you say that that is a continual goal? Do you want to get in more stores, or do you want to stick with the boutiques?
I think for me, in the space that I'm in now, I actually enjoy selling directly to my customers. Maybe I'll open a store later and continue to do that, but I no longer have that ambition to be in department stores. Like if it happens, it happens, but it's no longer like an immediate goal.
And so, what has been one of the big lessons you've learned throughout this process of designing?
One of the biggest lessons I've learned, to stay true to myself, um, and to not overdo it. A lot of times, I think that as designers, or well, as designers and as entrepreneurs, we try to adjust to our customer instead of allowing them to kind of grow with us. And for me,
Mm.
it gives me a bit of a headache to try and do that, because there's so many, you have so many people who could wear your pieces, who may want to, may not be able to afford it, and all of that. So if you try to adjust to all of those different people, like, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And for me, I'm just staying focused and understanding like what I want my brand to be, who I want to wear it, what I want to be known for, and just focusing on that. Then I know that those customers will come to me.
And your designs I've seen them on television. You've had quite a few celebrities that are customers. Talk about how you grew into those circles.
Just again, just being myself. Sometimes I'll reach out directly if I'm in the mode of designing something that I think would fit a certain client. Then I'll reach out to them like, hey, I have something for you. My main client right now, who has been a tremendous blessing to me, is Rashawn Ali. When she was hosting Sister Circle, she became very, very important to my brand because anytime she wore something, it was just perfect on her. And, the viewers felt it. They felt how good she felt in it. And they would immediately go to the site and purchase it. So it helped me to grow my customer base. Um, and it helped me to grow as a designer as well, because people were growing with me. I was no longer just designing for that younger audience. So what we did was added the option to offer different lengths, different dress lengths on the site, because I listen to my customers. I do listen. Sometimes sometimes I don't adjust, but most of the time I try to adjust. And a lot of the comments were that the dresses were too short, for my audience. So trying to adjust but still staying true to myself. Like the dresses, especially our signature dress, the Lola dress, that was the one dress that she wore a lot on the show. That was the dress with the bow, our signature. But offering it to all of the women that could wear it, having a mini length or a midi length or a knee length, mini knee length or midi length. Midi is like mid calf.
Hmm.
It still speaks to the same girl, the same type of woman, just different lengths. Depends on where she's going.
And what's next for you as you said you may decide to open a store sometime in the future, but you really like that direct contact with your customers.
Hmm.
What's that in between goal? Is there another? Do you want to go to Paris? Have you been to Paris Fashion Week?
No, I haven't been to Paris Fashion Week yet. It's on the list, but it's not at the top of the list. I think I have a different view when it comes to fashion shows. I feel like they're more for entertainment sometimes. Um,
Hmm.
and I would rather, invest that money into production or into more research or into actual events that are going to offer opportunities to sell the brand to directly to my customer, to the people who are actually buying it.
So you're looking at more pop-up events, more entertainment events where you can actually vend and where customers can get the designs that they see immediately.
Right, where we can offer an experience and not just, just to be able to say that we did Paris Fashion Week or New York Fashion Week. Like that was what it was all about back then, to be able to say that we did this. But at the end of the day, it's like, what do we gain from it? We just spent a whole lot of money to do a fashion show in New York, and no one sold anything. So it's we might have gotten a couple of articles, maybe a few write ups, media, that whole thing, but there's nothing more valuable. Like, the whole point is to sell. So there's nothing more valuable than just selling and understanding who your customer is and being able to provide something fabulous for them.
Now, in addition to being a fashion designer, you're also a singer.
Hmm.
How do you juggle those two very different but similarly creative outlets?
um, a lot of people don't know that I was actually singing before I started designing, just not in public. My family, I come from a family full of musicians and singers, but I was always really shy. And being a designer, I was able to not be so much in the spotlight, you know,
Mhm.
and be behind the scenes and express myself creatively through my art and through my through designs. And even at fashion shows, like, push it out with the models, like all of that energy, that creative energy, whatever story I wanted to tell, and I could still stay backstage until the end. I come out and do my little thank you, and that's it. But with singing, it's a little different. It's been a bit of a transition because, again, I am a little bit shy. So having to just open up and be vulnerable and be on stage and really, like, let people in. And I can't hide behind the models anymore. I can't hide behind the clothes. It's me. The voice and the energy and everything is just there. So it's been a challenge transitioning, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying growing and learning.
So I've seen you sing a couple times at some of our personal friends gatherings, but are you doing talent shows? Are you booking events now with your singing? Where are you going in that part of your career?
I am. Well, not since COVID, but my very first show was well, actually before that, what was it, 2017? That was the first time when I decided to step out and do this professionally.
Mhm.
I had just separated from my marriage, and that was one of the things at the top of my list that I wanted to do. Like, I'm just gonna go sing. I have to overcome this fear of being on stage. So I called Sax, and I reached out to a friend of mine at Sax, actually, and asked if we could just sing Christmas carols in the hall in the aisles at Saks, and they allowed us to come in and do that for 2 days. So that was like my first little opportunity to perform for 2 days, and then after that we did City Winery. So I was
Oh.
I'm at a pretty good start if I can book a show at City Winery first, and then I think immediately after we did ATL Live in the Park, and since then, just different spots around the city that have no one called them open mics, but that's posted do shows every week. So
Mhm.
it's been an experience because 2, 3, maybe 3 years ago, it was very hard for me to get on stage and even say hello on a microphone. So doing this or doing, singing and performing and that whole thing is a whole nother side that I'm enjoying at the moment.
What? And I would never have known that. I would have never guessed based on me seeing you perform and how much energy and confidence that you exude on stage. So, is there any advice that you would offer to perhaps someone who may be interested in designing?
Hmm.
How would they get started?
My first bit of advice would be to just start. Um, I guess do the research and figure out what you want to do, what you want to offer, and how you want to do it. And then just start doing the research. Reach out to people, follow people who are actually doing it, follow designers who are actually doing it. Um, and yeah, that's the first thing would be to figure out what it is you want to offer, whether it's t-shirts or a service. If you want to make something, I mean, right now, during the pivot, everybody became a mask designer just out of nowhere. So like, all I went to go get like some backup sewing machines one day, and every sewing machine in the store was sold out because everybody had started sewing. So
Mm.
I think they just, people just started doing it. And now, they've gone from sewing masks to now making scarves or hats or just anything that they can do. So everybody may not be a designer, but just being able to offer something. I think everybody's just doing it.
And what ways do you see design continuing to pivot, at least for the short term? Because I don't know when we're going to get back to full scale events. There are drive-in concerts, there's some drive-in movies,
Mhm.
but not quite what we were used to pre February 2020. Do you see design continuing to have a pivot?
Yes, I absolutely do. I think people are tapping more into their creative. The more we sit at home and stare at the walls. Um, I think you're kind of forced to just to be creative because as a creative we can't just sit still. We have to do something.
Hmm.
Our minds are always going and always thinking about what's next, what's coming, what people need, what we can provide, how we can offer it, and how we can put our little spin on it so that it still makes it our own. So I think it's going to continue to grow. I mean, as long as we have creatives in the world, we'll just keep giving you guys some great stuff to buy.
Now, you mentioned Rashawn Ali being one of your really good clients, provided some great exposure, helped facilitate some sales. Who
Mhm.
are some other people who maybe we've seen on television or in a movie or at a concert who've helped further the exposure of your designs because of their platforms?
Um, Good question. Because it's actually twofold answer. There are some people who have worn, some celebrities who have worn Natt Taylor, but some of them don't tag me, so I can't say that they've actually elevated the brands, per se. But when we've, shared them, people, of course, make the connection like, oh, if she's wearing it, then, you know, it must be that in and of itself elevates the brand. Aside from that, I really focus more on the everyday woman. Like she's
Okay.
my celebrity. She's the girl that's purchasing from me all the time.
Hmm.
Anything. I have certain customers that any dress that I post, they're automatically buying it. They have like a section in their closet of all Lola dresses, and it's just, it's a beautiful thing to know. And then to have like a list of those diehard clients that I've had for so many years that really just trust my brands and believe in me and just want to support. So yeah, those are my celebrities.
Aside from your everyday dresses and designs, do you do anything like for special occasions like proms or weddings?
Oh yeah, I do custom bridal and bridesmaids dresses, of course. Proms we do. I kind of fell back on proms a little bit. I offer maybe at the most five per year because prom clients are a little bit more diva-ish, I guess, than brides sometimes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they are. And then you have to remember they come with their entire family and all of their friends and everything. So it's a bit more of a headache than I like. But I love dealing with brides, working with brides. It's just a beautiful experience, to be a part of their day, to be a part of this moment. And even with proms as well. I mean, it's a moment. And so sad that a lot of them didn't get a chance to participate in prom this year. I was
Yeah.
sad about that, but even with weddings too, we fell back on a lot of events, but towards the end of the year, maybe the beginning of next year, we'll pick those back up. But yeah, I love weddings. I love custom. I just love being a part of the custom process because you're providing something special for that person for this major event. It's a beautiful thing.
So I know the bulk of your clientele are women. Do you ever design anything for men?
A little bit. I don't I don't get inspired by menswear, and I have tried. I have really, really tried. I have a lot of husbands and boyfriends who bring their wives or come with their wives to events, and they're like, "Why don't you have anything for men?" And I just haven't been excited about it. So what I did start offering was pocket squares. Um,
Okay.
and I do those seasonally. So I had an event maybe 2 years ago during I think the week or so before Father's Day, and it was at a spot where we had beer tastings and we were shooting pool, and it was a whole manly event, and we sold pocket squares, and that was sort of the launch event for that. So I do it for Father's Day, and then I also do it for holidays for Christmas.
And what has the response been? Because that does sound like a cool event, the entire theme, not just the pocket squares, but a theme, if you will.
Yeah, the whole experience. It was really good. The response was really good. Um, Another thing that I did was flares and squares. I had an event where I collaborated the men's pocket squares and the women's wear, where the pocket squares matched the dresses, and they were able to buy them as a set. So
Ooh,
yeah, that was pretty cool. That was maybe 2 years ago. I might do it again. We'll see. But again, going back to pop ups and just connecting and servicing the customer one on one. I love it.
have you done anything virtually during this pandemic? Because I know I've actually emceed a few virtual pop-ups. So have you had a chance to do anything virtual? And
I,
are you interested?
I have not done a virtual pop up yet, but I do plan to. Um, I was going to do, what was it? It was, I had a pop up shop that was appointment only. People were able to schedule an appointment and come to the studio and shop within their hour. But I do want to get back to just like the one on one. People like to feel the clothes. They like to be able to try them on, especially new customers. They may not be comfortable with the sizing and that sort of thing. It just makes it a little bit easier because then once they come to an event, whether it's in a store or in the studio or wherever, or if they just schedule an appointment to meet, they're more comfortable buying online because now they know exactly what size they are.
Definitely makes sense because
Yes.
that was one of the in the with both events that I MC, the questions that were in the chat box are the shirts to the size, or do they run large, do they run big? And so that is definitely a concern when you can't
Yes.
touch and feel the fabric.
And you can answer that question all day, but at the end of the day, I mean, if you don't really know your size, it may or may not fit you when you get it. I could say it's true to size, but it's nothing like coming into a space and being measured and you just knowing, like, okay, I'm a 12 or I'm a 14 or I'm a 4 or whatever it is.
Definitely. Well, as we begin to wrap up, just want to know if you have any final thoughts. Nat's Instagram is scrolling at the bottom of the page, so you can keep up with all of her events that will be coming up, both virtual and in person when that time comes. But any final thoughts to share with us this evening?
Um, Final thoughts. I just want everybody to keep going. Um, yeah, just keep going. Like we can't stop. It's a lot going on in the world, a lot that can push us back, a lot that can keep us from pushing forward or from moving forward. A lot of depression, a lot of, crazy stuff happening in the world. So we just have to pray, keep praying and push through it. And that's really what I've been doing these past couple of months, just praying and praying and praying some more and and getting through every hurdle and every obstacle that's been placed in front of me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Before we wrap up, we do have a question from one of our very loyal viewers, Leslie Youngblood has a
Mhm.
question for you. Can you see that on the screen?
A little on your downtime, if you have any. If I have any, nope. Do you watch any of the reality design shows? Also, outside of your everyday customers, do you have a famous celebrity you'd love to create for? Um, well, the second question first. I love Black Hollywood. I love Tracy Ellis Ross. I love Taraji and Gabrielle Union, like Michelle Obama, of course. I mean, all of those women I would love to see draped in Natt Taylor one day. Pop them in a Lola dress. That'll be cute. Um, and the first part of the question was reality design shows. I do. Um, I was a really big fan of Project Runway. I feel like I'm on Project Runway sometimes when I'm here working. Heidi and Tim did. I can't think of the name of it.
Okay.
It was on Amazon, and that one was really good to watch because it was less about the sewing and more about the creative and really the business side of fashion.
Hmm.
I do watch
Oh,
a few of them.
I might have to go back and check that one out.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, there was some stuff in there I would have kept off, but for the most part, it was a really good show. The fashion, what was it? The Fashion Star, or I think it was called Fashion Star, that was on years ago with
Mhm.
you remember that one where the whatever item won. whatever item was the win, they were able to sell in the store like immediately after. It was Macy's or Saks,
Oh,
like that. So that also focused more on the business side of fashion than showing people just sitting at a machine sewing all day.
gotcha.
It was pretty
Makes sense. Well, all right, Nat, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us tonight at the Angela Ray Show. And I look forward to getting into some Nat Taylor sometime soon. We gotta slim it down some. I think I talked to you maybe a couple years ago. I don't know what I had going on, but I was
a
looking
lot.
for something.
You always have so much going on. So anytime, just let me know. But thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Bye. Well, that is it for this Friday edition of the Angela Ray Show. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us during this series, Leading My Best Life. As always, I would like to remind you of Ray of Motivation number 54. Cleaning a mirror does not change the person who is reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage you all to go out and be the change. Have a great weekend. See you next week.